The village of Amani stood proud amidst the golden savannah. Generations of skilled warriors had protected its people. Their stories were etched in the very air, whispered by the wind through the tall grasses. Legends spoke of their courage, their strength, and their unwavering loyalty. They were as much a part of Amani as the red earth beneath their feet. From a young age, the children of Amani trained. They learned to fight, to hunt, and to respect the traditions of their ancestors. For they knew that one day they too would be called upon to defend their home. And so the legacy of the warriors lived on, passed down through generations like a sacred flame. The heart of the village was a large baobab tree, its ancient branches reaching towards the sky. It was here that the elders met, sharing stories and wisdom with the younger generation. The baobab had witnessed countless seasons, its bark a tapestry of time. And in its shadow, the spirit of Amani thrived. Chief Kofi was a man of great wisdom and strength. He led his people with a calm heart and an unwavering hand. His eyes, as deep and dark as the river after a storm, held the wisdom of countless moons. But it was his spirit, as strong and unyielding as the baobab tree, that truly set him apart. Kofi was the keeper of the sacred sword, a blade passed down through generations of chiefs. Forged in the heart of a dying star, it was said to contain the spirits of all the village's ancestors. The sword was more than just a weapon. It was a symbol of Amani's strength, its history, and its enduring spirit. The sword's hilt was wrapped in the hide of a lion, its eyes two glittering rubies. The blade itself shone with an inner light, pulsing faintly as if alive. When Kofi held the sword, he felt the weight of his ancestors upon him, guiding his hand and strengthening his resolve. He knew that the sword was not to be wielded lightly. It was a weapon of defense to be used only when all other options had been exhausted. And so it hung in its place of honor within Kofi's hut, a silent guardian of Amani's peace. One scorching afternoon, a shadow fell upon Amani. The dust rose in the distance, a dark cloud against the orange sky. It was a raiding party from the neighboring tribe, the Undutu, known for their ruthlessness and greed. Word of the approaching warriors spread through the village like wildfire. Women and children hurried to safety, seeking refuge within the sturdy walls of their homes. The warriors of Amani, their faces grim, gathered in the center of the village, ready to defend their home to the last breath. At their head stood Kofi, his hand resting on the hilt of the sacred sword. He knew the Undutu's reputation. They were a proud and powerful tribe, ruled by a fierce chief named Jabari, a man who desired nothing more than to expand his territory and his power. As the dust cloud drew closer, the pounding of hooves grew louder, like the beating of a war drum. The Undutu warriors emerged from the dust, a fearsome sight. Their faces were painted with war paint, their spears held high. At their head rode Jabari, his eyes burning with ambition. He had come for Amani's land, its people, and above all, its legendary sacred sword. Jabari, a giant of a man with a booming voice, dismounted his warthog. He approached Kofi, a cruel smile playing on his lips. "Chief Kofi," he boomed, "your village is outnumbered, your warriors outmatched. Surrender your sacred sword to me, and I will spare your people." Kofi stood tall, his gaze unwavering. "This sword," he said, his voice steady, "belongs to the people of Amani. It is a symbol of their strength, their history. I will never surrender it to anyone." The warriors of Amani, inspired by their chief's courage, raised their spears in defiance, a chorus of steel against the setting sun. Jabari laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "So be it," he said. "You leave me no choice. I challenge you to single combat, Kofi. The winner takes the sword and the losing village swears fealty to the victor." He knew that Kofi was a skilled warrior, but he was confident in his own strength. Kofi drew himself up to his full height. He knew that the fate of his people rested on his shoulders. To surrender the sword was unthinkable, but to refuse Jabari's challenge would be seen as an act of cowardice. He glanced at the faces of his people, their eyes filled with a mixture of fear and hope. He knew what he had to do. "I accept your challenge, Jabari," he said, his voice ringing with determination. Section 5. Dance of the Blades. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the savannah. A hush fell over the assembled warriors as Kofi and Jabari circled each other, their weapons raised. The air crackled with tension as the two chiefs prepared to clash. Jabari struck first, his spear a blur of motion. Kofi parried the blow effortlessly, the sacred sword singing as it met steel. The two warriors moved with the grace of predators, their weapons flashing in the fading light. Each blow was met with a clang of metal, each parry a testament to their skill. The duel raged on, neither warrior giving an inch. Jabari fought like a demon possessed, his attacks fueled by greed and ambition. But Kofi stood firm, his movements fluid and precise. He fought not just for himself, but for his people, for their freedom and their future. The spirits of his ancestors flowed through him, lending him strength and guidance. Jabari, sensing Kofi's unwavering resolve, grew frustrated. He abandoned his measured attacks, his movements becoming wild and desperate. Seeing an opening, Kofi struck. The sacred sword flashed, and with a cry of pain, Jabari fell. His spear tumbled from his grasp, clattering uselessly on the ground. Section 6. Honor amidst the dust. Kofi stood over Jabari, the sacred sword pointed at his throat. The Andutu warriors, their leader defeated, looked on in stunned silence. The fate of their tribe rested in Kofi's hands. Jabari looked up at Kofi, his eyes filled with a mixture of fear and respect. He had underestimated the Amani chief, his skill and his unwavering spirit. "Finish it," he rasped, his voice hoarse. "A warrior dies with his weapon in hand." Kofi looked down at Jabari, his face etched with conflict. He could kill the Andutu chief and claim victory for Amani. But something stayed his hand. He remembered the stories of his ancestors, tales of courage and compassion, of honor even in the face of defeat. With a sigh, Kofi lowered his sword. "No, Jabari," he said, his voice filled with sadness. "I will not kill you. You fought bravely if recklessly. Go back to your people and tell them what you have seen here today. Tell them that the people of Amani are not easily conquered, and that their spirit is as strong as the baobab tree." Section 7. Return of the Hero. A collective gasp arose from both sides. The warriors of Amani couldn't believe their ears. Their chief had spared the life of their enemy. The Andutu warriors were equally stunned. They had never witnessed such mercy, such respect for a fallen foe. Jabari, humbled by Kofi's actions, nodded slowly. "You are a true warrior, Kofi," he said, his voice filled with newfound respect. "I give you my word. The Andutu will never again threaten Amani." He rose to his feet, picked up his spear, and returned to his warriors. The Andutu warriors, their heads bowed in defeat, turned and melted back into the gathering darkness. The sound of their retreat echoed across the savannah, a fading testament to their humiliation. As the last of the Andutu disappeared from view, the warriors of Amani erupted in cheers. Kofi stood tall, the sacred sword held high as his people celebrated their victory. He had defended his people not just with his strength, but with his wisdom and his compassion. He had shown Jabari and the entire Andutu tribe that true strength lay not in conquest, but in honor, integrity, and respect for all life. Section 8. The Spirit of the Ancestors. News of Kofi's victory spread like wildfire across the savannah. The people of Amani rejoiced, their hearts filled with pride for their chief and for their village. Kofi had proven that even in the face of overwhelming odds, courage and integrity could prevail. Under the watchful gaze of the ancient baobab tree, Kofi shared the story of the duel with the children of Amani. He spoke of the importance of courage, of the need to stand up for what is right, even when it is difficult. He reminded them that the sacred sword was not just a weapon, but a symbol of their ancestors' spirit, a spirit that lived on in the heart of every villager. As the years passed, the story of Kofi's duel became a legend, passed down from generation to generation. It served as a reminder that true strength lay not in brute force, but in the courage of one's convictions, in the unwavering belief in one's principles, and in the respect for all life that flowed from the very heart of Amani. And so, The spirit of the ancestors lived on, strong and unyielding, like the baobab tree, a beacon of hope in the heart of the savannah.